Lesson 2, the Greek mind. Greek thinkers. The Greeks believed that the human mind was capable of great understanding. During the Golden Age of Greece, from approximately 500 BC to 350 BC, art, architecture, and literature all flourished. This was also a very fertile time for the life of the mind. Most of the thinkers discussed in this chapter were part of that exciting time. They were pondering deep questions about truth and also developing the study of science and mathematics. Greek thinkers produced some of the most remarkable ideas the world has ever known. One type of Greek thinker was involved in creating a whole new body of knowledge. These thinkers were known as philosophers. The body of knowledge they created was called philosophy. Philosophy is a Greek word that means love of wisdom. Through philosophy, Greek philosophers helped develop the study of many subjects, including history, political science, biology, logic, and the study of reasoning. The Sophists. Many Greek philosophers were teachers. A group of philosophers known as Sophists, the Sophists, traveled from polis to polis. They made a living by teaching. The Sophists taught many subjects, including mathematics, science, and history. However, they were best known for teaching rhetoric, or the art of public speaking and debate. Sophists did not believe that God influenced human actions. They also rejected the idea of absolute right and wrong. For Sophists, the way of life that was right for one person might be wrong for another. The Sophists not only challenged Greek traditions, but they also accepted money for their teaching. Many Greek philosophers did not approve of this practice, and many Greeks also thought the Sophists lacked ideals and values. Critics claimed that the Sophists taught students to win arguments rather than to seek truths. Who was Socrates? Although a sculptor by training, Socrates loved philosophy. He lived in Athens and spent most of his time teaching. Socrates did not leave a written record of his beliefs. Information about him is found in his students' writing. These writings reveal that Socrates was a harsh critic of the Sophists. Unlike the Sophists, Socrates believed in absolute truth and that all real knowledge was within each person. In his search for truth, Socrates created a new way of questioning called Socratic method. Today, many university professors use the Socratic method when they teach. Socrates did not lecture. Instead, he asked pointed questions and waited for his students to respond. He wanted students to find the answers for themselves and form their own opinions. Some Athenian leaders believed that the Socratic method was dangerous. At one time, Athens allowed its people to speak freely. They could publicly question their leaders. However, Athens lost the Peloponnesian War. Its new rulers limited this freedom. The Athenians no longer trusted open debate. This method of discussion, however, was exactly what Socrates thought was necessary. He continued to teach his students. In 399 BC, city leaders, fearing his influence, arrested Socrates, and they charged that he had urged young people to rebel against the government. A jury found Socrates guilty and sentenced him to death. Following the verdict of the court, Socrates was given the opportunity to leave Athens and live. Instead, he stayed, and surrounded by his students and friends, Socrates gave his last speech. He said that he was living under the city's laws, and as a result, he stated he was committed to obeying them. Socrates then drank poison to carry out the jury's sentence and died. The two Greek philosophers you may have heard of are Plato and Aristotle. The philosopher Plato was one of Socrates' students. Plato became a teacher and founded a school in Athens called the Academy. Unlike Socrates, Plato recorded his ideas in writing. One work Plato wrote was the Republic. It presented his plan for an ideal society and government. In the Republic, Plato organized society into three groups. At the top were the philosopher kings. They ruled through logic and wisdom. Warriors, the second group, defended society from attack using force. The third group included the rest of the people. Their role was to produce society's food, clothing, and shelter, and they lacked wisdom of kings and courage of the warriors. Plato believed that an ideal society must have just, reasonable government. In the Republic, Plato noted his dislike of Athenian democracy. He wrote that common people did not think for themselves and that they could be easily influenced into making foolish decisions. Plato believed that philosopher kings were intelligent and well educated, and he felt these kings would place the needs of the community ahead of their own needs. Plato wanted only the philosopher kings to govern the citizens of Greece. Despite his trust of the common people, Plato was willing to grant more rights to women.
There's cinnamon rolls in Mrs. Daly's room if anybody would like one. Come on down. Thanks. Bye.
He believed that women should have the same opportunities for education and jobs that men have. Who was Aristotle? Another great thinker of ancient Greek was Aristotle. He wrote more than 200 works on topics such as government, astronomy, and political science. In 335 BC, Aristotle started a school called Lyceum. At this school, he taught his students the golden mean. The mean is the middle position between two extremes. The idea of the golden mean is that people should live moderately. For example, individuals should not eat too little or too much. Instead, they should eat just enough to stay well. Aristotle had many interests, including science. He studied the stars, the plants, and animals, and carefully recorded what he observed. Aristotle classified living things according to their similarities and differences. Aristotle's methods were an important step in the development of modern science. Like Plato, Aristotle also wrote about government. He studied and compared governments of different city-states and hoped to find the best political system. In his book, Politics, Aristotle divided governments into three types. The first was monarchy, or rule by one person. The second was oligarchy, which is a rule by a few people. And the third was democracy, ruled by many. Aristotle believed the best government had features of all three. A chief executive would serve as a head of state. The council or legislature would assist their leader and be supported by the people. Aristotle's ideas influenced the way Europeans and Americans thought about government. The authors of the United States Constitution, like Aristotle, believed that no one person or group should have too much power. New history and science ideas. The Greeks used their thinking skills to write history, and they also investigated the natural world. They had developed new ways of studying science and history. Greeks and history. In many ways, the ancient Greeks were like most people living at the time. They believed that legends and myths were true. People did not analyze events in order to explain the past. Then, in 435 BC, the Greek thinker Herodotus wrote a history of the Persian Wars. Herodotus wrote that gods played a role in historical events. However, he made a great effort to separate fact from fiction. Like a news reporter, he questioned many people to get the information, but then he investigated the truthfulness of these sources. Because of Herodotus' different research, many European American historians call him the father of history. Another famous historian of ancient Greek was Thucydides. He was a general in the Peloponnesian War. The great city-states of Athens and Sparta fought this conflict, which lasted 30 years. Thucydides considered this war to be a major event in world history. After the war, he wrote the history of the Peloponnesian Wars. Herodotus and Thucydides rejected the idea that gods affected human history. Thucydides believed that only people made history in his writings. Thucydides tried hard to be accurate and impartial, and Thucydides acted like a modern reporter. He visited battle sites and also carefully examined documents. In addition, he accepted only actual witness reports of events. Thucydides did not just state the facts. He also explained the cause and effect of events. He believed that the future generations could learn from the past. Moreover, as a historian, he wanted to leave behind ideas and commentaries so that others could learn. For example, in the history of the Peloponnesian Wars, Thucydides wrote of a warning to Sparta. The first scientist. The ancient Greeks developed many scientific ideas. These ideas have influenced scientific thinking for centuries. In ancient times, most people thought their gods controlled nature. Early Greek scientists had a different idea. They thought that natural events could be easily explained logically and that people could discover the cause of these events by using reason. The first important Greek scientist was Thales of Miletus. Born in mid-600 BC, Thales studied astronomy and mathematics. He did not have telescopes or other instruments that scientists use today. Thales made discoveries and developed theories by observing and thinking. Another Greek scientist, Pythagoras, taught his pupils that the universe followed the same laws that govern music and numbers. He believed that all relationships could be expressed in numbers, and as a result, he developed many new ideas about mathematics. Most people know his name because of the Pythagorean theorem that is used in geometry today. It is the way to determine the length of the sides of a triangle. Ancient Greek medicine. Greek scientists also studied medicine, or the science of treating disease. Hippocrates was a physician in ancient Greece and is regarded as the father of medicine. He believed disease came from natural causes. Most people at the time thought evil spirits caused disease. Hippocrates traveled all over Greece to help the sick. He used his new ideas to diagnose different illnesses, and he also discovered his own treatments to help cure sick people. Hippocrates created a list of rules about how doctors should use their skills to help patients. His rules are listed in the Hippocratic Oath. The oath says that doctors should do their best to help a patient. It also says that they should protect the patient's privacy. Today, doctors around the world still promise to honor the Hippocratic Oath.